Ever since I was a kid, I've always enjoyed 2D Mario. New Super Mario Bros. DS was one of the first games that I've ever played, and it instantly hooked me on the gameplay formula. I then played New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Super Mario World, and eventually the rest of the games. Out of all of those games, New Super Mario Bros. DS and Super Mario World stood out to me as being the most notable games in both creativity and the core design of the gameplay. And until now, there really hasn't been any new 2D Mario game that has captured that same energy. So that is why I was ecstatic when Super Mario Bros. Wonder ended up happening. It basically has everything that I've wanted from a new 2D Mario game. A unique visual style, a creative yet well-designed gimmicks to make gameplay interesting, and a departure from the infamous New Super Mario Bros. Formula. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is absolutely excellent, and in this review, I will go over the many aspects of the game that I enjoy. The most important part of a 2D Mario game is of course the gameplay, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder builds off of the previous games in many ways. It retains most of the aspects from the new Super Mario Bros. Moveset, like wall jumping, ground pounding, and the twirl. Triple jumping is no longer possible, but what they've added more than makes up for it. They've added a lot of the abilities from Super Mario World, such as kicking a shell upward or swimming faster with the shell, and movement just feels so much better in general. They improved upon many aspects of it that I never thought they would improve. The level design is also excellent, and it showcases many interesting mechanics, while also being the perfect length. Another thing that I really appreciate is the fact that there's no longer a timer. The timer was kind of a relic of the days where games took many elements from arcade games and were viewed more of an overall challenge rather than a standalone, enjoyable experience. So the lack of a timer gives you more incentive to go out of the way to find secrets in the level. And the timer in previous 2D Mario games was mostly unnecessary as well, since it gave you nearly 5 to 6 minutes to finish a level, when it generally took players about 2 to 3 minutes. So, the times when it really only worked in 2D Mario, at least in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, is when it gave you a very strict time limit, and the level design compensated for it, kind of making it more of a challenge to complete the level. So, Mario Wonder actually does have some segments that are similar to that, with the Wonder effects, and they actually work really well, and they're the only times where a time limit makes sense in that game. Another relic of the 80s that wasn't kept in this game is the point system, which was even more unnecessary than the timer. Sometimes I forget that the point system even existed in the new Super Mario Bros. Series because it serves little to no purpose at all. The only interesting uses of a point system in recent history is the EXP system in Super Paper Mario utilizing points, and the competitive aspect that it brought to Super Mario 3D World. So there was really no reason to bring it back in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so instead of including it, they replaced it with a combo system similar to the Mario RPGs, which have a pop-up message every time you consecutively bounce off of an enemy, leading to a 1-up. One huge new addition to the gameplay and level design are the Wonder effects, which is this game's main new gimmick. And unlike gimmicks in other games, like Kirby's Hypernova and Triple Deluxe, this doesn't feel repetitive or forced in at all. All of the Wonder effects are unique and switch up the gameplay in different and excellent ways. For example, there's one where you play from a top-down perspective, turn into a Goomba, ride on a dragon, and watch Piranha Plants sing. They're also optional as well unless you're kind of using them to progress, so you can really play every level without the Wonder effects, at least every main level. So there are many really fun ideas here, and you could tell that the developers had 2,000 ideas for this game. 2D Mario games are often known to have a wide variety of power-ups that have a unique ability to offer, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder is no exception. While it may not have as many power-ups as some of the other 2D games, the ones that are there are great, and are among some of the best in the series. The Drill Mushroom allows you to dig into the ground or the ceiling, as well as acting as a protection from falling enemies. It kind of reminds me of the spin drill from Galaxy 2 in its design, and its abilities are fairly similar to the mole suit from Paper Mario 3D Land, which is a fan game that released about a decade. And yes, I know I couldn't go through this entire video without mentioning Paper Mario once, but I will mention it again, so stay tuned. The ability for the drill to protect you from falling enemies is also similar to how the shell helmets worked in the Mario Maker games. So, the Bubble Flower gives you the ability to create bubbles to defeat enemies or use as platforms to bounce off of. This is actually pretty similar to the Bubble Baby Yoshis from New Super Mario Bros. U, but it's much better since you actually have more control over the bubbles and you don't have to constantly hold on to something. And the ability to bounce off of the bubbles is actually pretty broken and can allow you to skip over parts of some levels, fairly similar to the Cape Feather. And even though it is a bit broken, there is enough skill involved to where its abilities are balanced. And the final and most iconic new power-up is the Elephant Fruit. In Wowie Zowie, this is such a fun power-up to use. With this power-up, you have a trunk attack, which you can use to defeat enemies or break through brick blocks. It's basically a more powerful version of the Raccoon or Tanuki form. So, it basically has a larger attack radius as that, and it can cause shells to fly out with more energy. You can also store and spray water with the trunk, which can stun enemies, or spray on flowers, which can activate things, or kind of spray out coins. There are also a couple other abilities that take advantage of the size that you grow to with this power-up, such as the ability to run across slightly larger gaps, or hold on to larger objects, like the snail shells. Overall, the power-ups in Super Mario Bros. Wonder are really good and are really fun to use, but the power-ups aren't the only thing that adds on to your moveset. The badges are another great addition on top of an already amazing game. You might have heard of badges in Mario games before because they're a key component of the first two Paper Mario games, as well as a way of changing your stats or assisting you in the Mario & Luigi series. It almost works as a similar way to both series in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, as some badges can add on to your moveset, while others can assist players that may be struggling. Overall, it adds so much potential to how you could approach this game, as you could play with different levels, with different badges, differently. And there's also a category of badges that makes the game more challenging by doing things making you run, bounce constantly, or make you invisible, which are also really cool since it kind of adds a challenging element to it, kind of catering to the people who like challenge runs, speed runs, and different things like that. So overall, badges are an amazing addition to this game, and just adds so much more potential to the moveset and core structure of 2D Mario. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is one of the most creative games in the franchise. Even outside of the Wonder effects, there's so many interesting new ideas here. Similar to Super Mario World in the Land games, this game takes place in an entirely separate kingdom outside of the Mushroom Kingdom called the Flower Kingdom. The Flower Kingdom contains toad-like NPCs called Poplins and has a ruler named Prince Florian. So Florian joins you on this journey, similar to Cappy in Odyssey, and he basically gives you the ability to use badges. And on top of the characters, there's a wide variety of enemies too. Many returning enemies now have new designs or reference their past designs, like the Boos, Koopa Troopas, and Hotheads. Then, there's also a ton of completely new enemies that actually make up for the majority of the enemies in this game. There are actually over 70 new enemies, which is more than most previous Mario games, especially the 2D games. Enemies like Outlaways, Mamas, Wubbas, Hoppos, Bulrushes, Skedaddlers, Bumsies, and Missile Megs are all really cool additions, with a lot of really cool and creative concepts behind them. The world themes in Super Mario Bros. Wonder is another very creative aspect of the presentation as well. Rather than using the same New Super Mario Bros. Template of the grassland, desert, beach, jungle, and so on, they use many different takes on existing themes, as well as some new themes entirely. For example, World 1 has more of a savanna theme than a generic grassland theme. World 2 kind of has a mixture of a snow world and a cloud world, and World 3 is a completely new theme with waterfalls and golden geometric landscapes. It's very interesting and nice seeing all of these new and unique takes on level themes. It almost reminds me of what Mario Odyssey and 3D Mario does with its worlds, and I'd love to see the 2D Mario games continue to do this. Another thing that I like is the visual and audible elements incorporated into each level. The most recognizable of these are the talking flowers. When I first saw them in the June Direct trailer, I was a little worried that they would be annoying. But no, they're actually pretty funny, and they're actually a really cool addition to this game. Another thing is the foreground and background, which you can kind of go in between using the pipes, and it's another underrated aspect of the presentation of this game. I loved when Kirby Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot did it, so I'm glad that it's in a Mario game now. Finally, the music in this game is excellent. One problem that I had with the new Super Mario Bros. Games with the music in those games is that after DS, it sounded a bit too plain and generic. They often reused themes in other games, and the Ba instruments kinda got old. Koji Kondo wasn't even involved with the new Super Mario Bros. Games after DS, so that might be the reason why the music didn't quite hit as hard, but thankfully, in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the soundtrack is excellent. There are many memorable themes here that I enjoy listening to from time to time. The athletic theme especially is nearly as iconic as the one from Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, while the snow theme, beach theme, underground theme, and many others are also amazing. So overall, between the theming, characters, visual elements, and the music, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has some of the best presentation in the entire Mario franchise. Since New Super Mario Bros. Wii, one staple of 2D Mario has been 4-player co-op, and Mario Wonder is no exception. This time, there are 12 characters to choose from, or technically 8, since there are some color variations of the Toads and Yoshis, but that's still a very solid roster for a 2D Mario game. This also means that one player doesn't have to use an easy mode character like how it was in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which basically kind of made that game worse than the original version of New Super Mario Bros. U, so I'm glad there is a wide variety of characters here. And Daisy is actually one of the playable characters, and this is the first time she's appeared in a 2D Mario game for quite a long time since her appearance in Super Mario Land. I know she technically appeared in Super Mario Run, but that is a mobile game and not really a full mainline Mario game. But still, it's been so long since Daisy has had a significant appearance in a mainline Mario game. But one change that they made to the gameplay itself in co-op was the fact that there's no longer player collision. I'm actually happy with this change because it means that they don't have to make the levels emptier to compensate for the player collision, meaning that this game is just as fun in single player as it is when playing with others. Another cool feature that was surprisingly handled well was the online multiplayer. While it is a bit disappointing that you can't play with friends directly with co-op, what we did get is the next best thing. You can actually play with other random people and help them out in levels, while placing like standees or reviving them and doing different things like that. By doing this, you can earn heart points, which is actually really satisfying to do, and it actually enhances the experience overall. You actually still can play with friends, as well as open up rooms for them. They actually added a multiplayer racing mode, similar to Super Mario Maker 2, which is definitely a very cool addition, which makes for a fun online multiplayer experience. So overall, the multiplayer in Super Mario Bros. Wonder was handled very well, even though it wasn't exactly what most people were expecting. Finally, I wanted to talk about a few nitpicks that I had with this game. While Super Mario Bros. Wonder is excellent, it isn't perfect, and it does have a few small flaws that I wanted to address. None of these flaws really impacted my experience that much, but they are things that would have improved the game if they were changed. The first thing is the bosses, and yeah, I was kinda surprised about how they were handled. Every single boss, except for the final boss, is Bowser Jr., which is pretty disappointing. The fights themselves are kinda decent. They're basically what you would expect to see with the Koopalings, and some of them are basically glorified Koopaling boss fights. But man, this game would have really benefited from some original bosses, or even Wonder versions of the Koopalings. Considering how creative and unique this game is, I'm really surprised that they didn't handle the bosses better. At least the final boss is really good and is one of the best in the series, but I feel like all of the bosses should have been that way. Another thing is the easy mode characters, with the Yoshis and Nabbit. While there's nothing wrong with having accessibility in easy modes in games, I'd rather have them be a completely separate mode than baked in with the game itself. It's kind of disappointing that the Yoshis are included within those characters, because it would have been really cool to actually play through a 2D Mario game as Yoshi, with some challenge involved and without worrying about it being in easy mode. What they should have done with Yoshi is give him a health meter, like the flower in Yoshi's story. That way, he could function as he does normally in the game, while having some semblance of challenge. So yeah, I just think that the 2D Mario team should handle easy modes a bit better, rather than baking it in with the main mode. So anyways, those are my thoughts on Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's an absolutely amazing game, and is definitely a huge step forward for 2D Mario. There are so many cool and creative ideas baked into this game, between the wonder effects, new characters and enemies, power-ups, badges, and the world theming in general. This game definitely deserves its reputation as being the modern Super Mario World, because it practically is that in so many ways. It strives to expand upon 2D Mario while keeping the elements that made these games fun in the first place. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is now my favorite 2D platformer of all time, and it's up there as one of my favorite Mario games in general. I definitely recommend playing this game if you haven't already. Like seriously, this is a must-play, along with most of the other 2D and 3D Mario games. You'll definitely be in for a treat. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.